She was not just a queen. She spoke 9 languages, ruled an empire, seduced the 2 most powerful men in Rome, and came this close to destroying the Roman Empire itself. History tried to erase her, reduce her to a seductress, a footnote in some else's story. But the truth? Cleopatra was the most dangerous mind in the ancient world. And her death didn't just end a life. It ended 3,000 years of Egyptian civilization. This is the story they didn't want told. 69 BC, Alexandria, Egypt. A girl is born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, Greek rulers who had governed Egypt since Alexander the Great's general claimed it 300 years earlier. Her name is Cleopatra VII. This family was famous for one disturbing tradition: marrying their own siblings to keep power within the bloodline. Murder, betrayal, and incest were simply how Ptolemaic politics worked. But Cleopatra was different from the start. While her relatives focused only on luxury and ceremony, Cleopatra became obsessed with knowledge. She studied at the Library of Alexandria, the greatest center of learning in the ancient world. She learned mathematics, philosophy, medicine, and astronomy. And most remarkably, she learned languages, eventually speaking 9 fluently, including Egyptian, something almost no Ptolemaic ruler before her had bothered to learn in 300 years. She wanted to actually understand her people, not just rule over them. At age 18, her father died. Cleopatra became queen. But in Egypt, she would not rule alone. By tradition, Cleopatra had to share her throne and marry her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, just 10 years old. It was a recipe for disaster. The boy's advisors wanted complete control. They saw the intelligent, independent Cleopatra as a threat. Within a year, they forced her out. Cleopatra was exiled from her own kingdom. Most people in her position would have given up. Cleopatra raised an army in exile and prepared to fight her way back to her throne. And then, fate intervened. Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt, chasing his rival Pompey during the Roman Civil War. Egypt's advisors, trying to please Caesar, presented him with Pompey's severed head. Caesar was disgusted, not pleased. Cleopatra saw her opportunity. According to legend, she had herself smuggled into the palace rolled inside a carpet to bypass her brother's guards and meet Caesar directly. When she stepped out before the most powerful man in Rome, Caesar was captivated instantly. Not just by her beauty, but by her intelligence, her wit, her absolute fearlessness. Caesar restored Cleopatra to her throne. Her brother, Ptolemy XIII, drowned, fleeing the resulting war. Cleopatra was queen again, this time backed by the full military power of Rome. She and Caesar became lovers. In 47 BC, she gave birth to a son. She named him Caesarion, Little Caesar. Cleopatra traveled to Rome itself, living openly as Caesar's mistress, even while he was still legally married to a Roman wife. Roman society was scandalized. A foreign queen, in Rome, claiming her son was the heir of the great Caesar himself. But Cleopatra wasn't doing this for romance. She was playing the longest political game in ancient history. If her son could be recognized as Caesar's heir, Egypt and Rome could be unified under one bloodline, her bloodline. Then, in 44 BC, everything collapsed. Caesar was assassinated on the Senate floor. Cleopatra fled Rome immediately, her position now extremely dangerous. Her plan was in ruins. But Cleopatra did not surrender to despair. she started planning her next move. After Caesar's death, Rome split into civil war again. Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general, emerged as one of the most powerful men in the new Roman world, controlling the wealthy eastern provinces. In 41 BC, Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him in the city of Tarsus to answer accusations she had supported his enemies. Most rulers would have arrived nervously, apologetically. Cleopatra arrived like a goddess. She sailed up the river on a golden barge with purple sails, silver oars, and attendants dressed as mythological figures, burning incense filling the air. She dressed as Venus, goddess of love, deliberately positioning herself not as a defendant, but as a divine equal. Antony was utterly captivated. He followed her back to Alexandria. What followed was a legendary romance: extravagant feasts, lavish gifts, deep political partnership. Antony gave Cleopatra vast territories, expanding Egypt's power across the eastern Mediterranean. She gave him 3 children. But back in Rome, Antony's actions were creating a furious enemy. A young man named Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, watched Antony abandon Roman values for an Egyptian queen. And Octavian began building a case that Antony wasn't just in love, he was betraying Rome itself. Octavian launched a devastating propaganda campaign. He told Rome that Antony had gone native, abandoned his Roman wife, become Cleopatra's puppet, and was planning to move Rome's capital to Alexandria. He claimed Antony intended to make Caesarion, Caesar's actual son, the true heir, stealing Octavian's birthright. Most dangerously, he declared war not on Antony, a fellow Roman. He declared war on Cleopatra, a foreign queen. This was brilliant. It meant Octavian wasn't starting another Roman civil war. He was defending Rome from a foreign threat. In 31 BC, the two sides met at the Battle of Actium off the coast of Greece. Antony and Cleopatra commanded a massive combined fleet. But Octavian's admiral, the brilliant Agrippa, outmaneuvered them completely. In the middle of the battle, Cleopatra's ships suddenly withdrew. Historians still debate why: tactical retreat, panic, or strategic preservation of her fleet. Antony, seeing her ships leaving, abandoned his own battle and followed her. His remaining forces, leaderless, were destroyed or surrendered. It was the single worst decision of his life. The war for Rome's future was over. Antony and Cleopatra fled back to Alexandria. Octavian pursued relentlessly. By 30 BC, his forces had reached Alexandria itself. Antony's remaining soldiers deserted to Octavian. In despair, believing false reports that Cleopatra was already dead, Antony fell on his own sword. He was carried dying to Cleopatra, who had locked herself in her mausoleum with her treasure. He died in her arms. Cleopatra was brought before Octavian. She tried everything to negotiate, to preserve her kingdom, to protect her children. But she discovered Octavian's true plan. He intended to parade her through Rome in chains as a conquered trophy, the ultimate humiliation. Cleopatra would never allow that. On August 12, 30 BC, locked in her chamber with 2 loyal servants, Cleopatra prepared her final act. According to ancient sources, she had a venomous snake smuggled into her chamber, hidden inside a basket of figs. An asp, sacred symbol of Egyptian royalty and divine protection. She let it bite her. Cleopatra VII, last Pharaoh of Egypt, died on her own terms, not as a captive, as a queen. Cleopatra's death ended far more than one woman's life. It ended 3,000 years of Egyptian civilization as an independent power. The pharaohs, the pyramids, the ancient kingdom going back to before recorded history. Egypt became a Roman province. Octavian had Cleopatra's son Caesarion, Julius Caesar's only biological child, executed. He couldn't risk a true heir to Caesar existing. Octavian returned to Rome as the unquestioned master of the entire Mediterranean world. He took a new name, Augustus, Rome's first true emperor. The Roman Republic, already dying since Caesar's time, was now completely gone, replaced by an empire that would last another 500 years. And Cleopatra, the brilliant, multilingual, politically genius queen who tried to save her kingdom through alliance, romance, and strategy, was rewritten by Roman propaganda into something smaller. A seductress, a foreign temptress who corrupted good Roman men. The truth was far more complicated and far more impressive. Cleopatra ruled Egypt for 21 years, longer than most ancient monarchs survived in power at all. She spoke 9 languages in a world where most rulers spoke 1. She formed alliances with the 2 most powerful men in Rome, not through weakness, but through calculated political genius. She fought to the very end to protect her kingdom and her children, and when she lost, she chose her own ending rather than let Rome write it for her. History called her a seductress. The truth is, she was one of the most brilliant political minds of the ancient world. A queen who almost changed the course of an empire. If this video gave you something, like it. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe for the complete ancient history series, Rome, Egypt, and beyond. And tell me in the comments, was Cleopatra a victim of Rome or one of history's greatest strategists? I'll see you in the next one.